different is that to the way that we've had to work in the past, where we've done a release of the systems of record every 18 months? It's a very, very different world. Okay. It needs a recovery disk, apparently. No idea. So what are these guys doing? So if we look at an Uber, if we look at a Spotify or whatever, what do? They have a front-end application, obviously, and this is valuable. I'm a Spotify user. I wouldn't suggest that Spotify is the most fantastic user interface I've ever seen, but my goodness, it's very, very valuable to me. And of course, increasingly, these are going to be on wearables, and they're going to be on smart devices. 55 billion connected smart devices by the year 2020. And by a smart device, we mean something with a processor inside it and an application. Now, I think one of the most important things is these guys have these kind of serving applications that will be sitting on a server somewhere, possibly in the cloud, and they will be serving the Spotify front end, they'll be serving Uber, they'll be serving Airbnb. What is it about these that's cool? The first thing is these applications are hybrid. So I was talking to a bank recently, and they're working on what they call digital innovation. And they're working with 30 different partners. They're working on some prototypes, all sorts of different services from East End of London, Israel, Silicon Valley. This is completely new to them. In the past, they owned everything in the data center, and they may be called out to like a payment system, and that was it. It's a very, very different world. It's full of hybrid stuff. These guys who are creating this are going, oh, there's a cool thing in Israel, we'll try that. Or there's something from the East End of London, let's try that as well. That's the first thing. And the second thing, it's fluid. In other words, this company I use in Israel might be bought, or they might change their pricing to be too expensive. So this is not something you can fix for 3 years. This is something that's changing. The third thing, which I think is extremely important too, is these people are using data science inside the product. You know, in the past, we've all had data analysis, of course, and we've used it, and we've given a report to the business guys, and they've gone, yep, thank you very much. This is different. What Uber does is they have what's called surge pricing. They use data analysis to set the price dynamically, and they increase the price of a ride as they get more people needed, so that they'll get more people out of bed to do this stuff. Airbnb, when you put your... this happened to me once, I couldn't turn it off.
What if you okay with the kit now? Is it all okay? Is the kit going okay?
Yeah, the kit's all fine. That's okay. Airbnb, if you put something on the market, they have a recommendation engine which sets the price, and it's based on all kinds of variables. So these people are using big data and data analysis inside their products, and then they're pushing that out to customers. Okay, so what we've got then is we've got this fantastic opportunity for us in IT. We've got all these apps and we've got this data science, and we're now not a cost center, we are the product. We can become the innovation engine. We can create the differentiation. Very, very exciting for us. We're no longer the backroom guys that people kick when nothing happens, when it goes wrong, and ignore the rest of the time. We are actually able to sit in the product teams. But we've got to keep these systems of record going. We are not going to have that central banking app fail or lack its performance. So we've got this dichotomy. And in fact, many people, Gartner, McKinsey, a lot of others, talk about this idea of two parts to IT. Gartner calls it bimodal, McKinsey calls it two-speed. I'm not going to give it a name because some people hate either one, but anyway, it's this two kinds of IT. We've got these fluid guys. They're agile, they're fluid, they're thinking about innovation, they're thinking about disruption, they're continuously innovating, continuously delivering, and they're thinking about delivering once a week. And then we've got core IT. We've got to be compliant and secure. We've got to think price performance. Our supplier relationships are long term, and they've got to think in long life cycles. And very importantly, these guys look after the system of record. They know who the customers are, what the transactions were, etc. And just kind of hold that thought, because we'll come back to that in a minute. Sorry, I'm jumping ahead of myself. What we need to make sure is these two groups work together. What I see so often is these guys obviously exist. And this guy is a bunch of guys in Hungary in black T-shirts who, think that there is no such thing as a PC apart from a Mac. Whatever. They will create some way cool stuff, and it doesn't link to the system of record. I see it time and time again, and you can only go so far without linking through to the system of record, because at some point you've got to know who are the customers, who are the orders. When you do way cool big data analysis, looking at social media and machine-to-machine transactions, very, very cool, but I need to relate it to the system of record. And also, these guys will stick stuff on cloud when it's not the right decision for the organisation. It's not secure, it doesn't have the right data, the right data storage, locale, all that kind of thing. We have got to have a relationship between these two groups. So what do we need to put in place in order for that to be achieved?
Mark,
Yes. Yes.
CIOs will come under a lot of pressure in that very recognisable model, because what I see from other CIOs in my past experience is that our executive colleagues have got an appetite to spend on the right-hand side of the slide and don't really
Yes.
want to invest on this side.
Yes, agreed.
And you can actually get money for agile and fluid and that sort of thing quite easily, because our executive colleagues see the benefit. Less so here. Do you encounter that?
We do encounter that.
And how do you respond to that?
So we still in this part of the organisation typically spend 60 to 70% keeping the lights on. What we've got to do is we've got to attack that in order for these guys to be able to support these guys. So if you could make the argument that these guys need the support from core IT in terms of access to the system of record, we have to make these guys more efficient. So this idea of continuing with 60 to 70% of the organisation just keeping the lights on is not sustainable. And probably I would say the key thing there is through the use of automation. You can talk about cloud, but behind cloud you need to automate the provisioning. You can talk about things like automated discovery, that is automation. You can talk about better, less people-intensive management, but you've got to create the models and you do that automatically. So for me, the heart of this thing here is to see how much of this can I automate. Can I automate my management? Can I automate my change control? Can I automate my security? Can I automate my provisioning and stuff like that? I like that question, and it's a discussion we have a lot with CIOs. How can I free up some of that 60% and move it over to help with this stuff here?
I'm sure the CIOs on the floor there would actually have the same challenges.
Yeah. So these two groups have got to work together, and I've broken that down really into 6 areas. I've talked to a lot of people about this, and I think probably this is plus or minus a few is about right. So the first one we need to talk about is service brokering. These fluid IT guys, they use what we call composable apps. In other words, they kind of sit there and go, I'll have one of those, a couple of those, some of those, good, got an app. We need in core IT to give them a single storefront to say, look, these are the services that we in core IT offer you. These are the other services that you can access. And you look down and you say, I'll have one of those and one of those. One single place to get all this stuff from. We also need to look at the services we have inside core, and we need to say what we call cloudize them. So an example I was talking to a customer with the other day, he said, what we want to give people a server, and on that server we want to put the development environment for our organisation, for mobility, to access the systems of record for our organisation. So he wanted to make that a cloud service, so that the fluid guys would say, you know what, I want to develop an app, a mobile app against the system of record. I'm going to order one of those, I'm going to go for lunch, and when I come back from lunch, boom, we can start development. Same with testing. I want to test against the mobile environment. I want to do this much testing against this kind of clients. I want to press a button, go to lunch, and boom, we can do the testing. So it's a question of a single storefront. It's a question of cloudizing services that core IT provides, and also APIs, of course, onto the system of record. The second thing I've already talked about is these apps that these fluid guys are producing are hybrid. In other words, there's some pieces in the data center, some pieces out in the cloud. So we need to be able to develop and to test and to deploy and to manage hybrid applications. That's what we need. We need management tools, development and testing tools that can actually and platforms that can work in a hybrid world. Not data center only, not let's just give it all to Amazon, but a combination of the two. So those are kind of tools that we put in place. This one here, continuous innovation, this is about velocity through that lot. These fluid guys, they want to say, yeah, we're working on something. Let's get it through. Let's